Good morning, everybody. If you're hearing me and seeing me, please let me know. Right now, the webinar is preparing to go live on Facebook. So those of you who are on Facebook waiting, we'll see it in a moment. And unfortunately, now I'm seeing it too on Facebook. Haha. Well, I see me on Facebook. I'm hoping, where is Zoom at? There. Okay. Good. I can see. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Suzanne. Good morning, Jennifer. I see everybody out there. Hopefully you all see me now. And hopefully we have everybody with us through Zoom. We shall see. If not, it's okay. However, I do have charts for people this morning. And Suzanne and Cassandra and Christian. And if you want me to do a reading for you, you're going to have to follow the Zoom link that I posted on the Living Astrology page yesterday in order for me to see you and for you to be able to see your chart. And Suzanne, you're in the right place. So I've got your chart. I don't see the other two yet, but perhaps they'll come in here in a little bit. And it's not quite 8 o'clock, so I'm going to wait for a couple of minutes and just kind of chill while everybody comes in before I jump into some, information for the day. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Everybody survived yesterday's moon through Aries. We are still with the moon a little bit in Aries today, so we might have a little bit of conflict, just a little, just early in the day, and then it'll be gone. So for those of us on the West Coast, that ends at 11:12 this morning when the moon moves into Taurus. So hopefully we could get rid of that energy that makes things a little scritchy, right? We're a little irritable, but we don't know why. And it doesn't take much to trigger our reaction to something. And that energy will be passing here shortly. So we've got about another minute till 8 o'clock. And I'm guessing this is broadcasting live on Facebook. If you're on Facebook right now, good morning to you as well. If you're on Facebook and you are Cassandra or you are Christian, then, and I don't mean Christian the religion, but the gentleman named Christian who wants his chart read this morning, you're going to have to follow the Zoom link to get into where I am in order for me to be able to share your chart and talk to you. And in the meantime, let's just go ahead and jump right in and start talking about the day. Yesterday, the sun had moved into Pisces, and we were talking a little bit about how the fact that Pisces is a water sign and it's about flow and it's highly abundant. And the card indeed that we chose yesterday was Treasure Island, which does speak to us about this week being a week of abundance. And do you guys see my little things, my messages pop up when they do pop up? Somebody in there, tell me if you see my pop-up messages, because if so, I'm going to have to figure that. Okay, no, you don't. Good. Okay. So yesterday, as we were talking about the fact that we have an abundant week ahead of you or ahead of us, I hadn't really looked yet at where we were in the Human Design Week. So imagine my surprise, not really surprise, it's like synchronicity, that this week the sun is at gate 55 in our Human Design template, which means that it's called the gate of abundance in all of its expressions. So abundance might mean money, it might be work, it might be people giving you gifts, it could be anything, right? Whatever it is that makes you feel abundant can be provided during this particular week. In fact, 855 reminds us that abundance is from spirit, and since we are part of spirit, that we are intrinsically engaged in receiving and giving of the abundance of spirit. I'm sorry, for some reason this cold is just hanging on and won't leave me alone. So when I checked this gate out in the Gene Keys, which I often do, so the Gene Keys are written by Richard Rudd. I'd pull the book down and show you all, but it's big and it's going to knock all my other books down if I try to do that. In the Gene Keys, Richard Rudd arranges all of the different human design gates into things called Gene Keys. So when we're talking about gate 55, he would call that Gene Key 55. So it's the same thing, just a different word. But the way that Richard Rudd designs his information is he expresses the energies in each of the gates through a good morning, Cassandra. Thanks for checking in with me. So I see you in there. That's awesome. So he designs these with 3 different levels in mind. The first level being that of the shadow, right? This is the lower expression of that energy. And we might all recognize the times that we've been operating at that lower level. The next level up, he calls the gift. And the gift is the place where we have sort of transmuted the energies of the lower expression of those energies. And we begin to see how that channel, that gate, or that gene key can be expressed in a higher manner. And the very third level is called the siddhi, which is a Sanskrit word that just means the highest expression of. And very few people actually ever probably make it to a siddhi in any one of the gates, because we're still working through and evolving through all of these different levels. But gene key gate 55 is really unique because instead of having 3 levels, it literally only has 2. The first level is that of victimization. And you got to admit, there's a lot of us still dealing with the energy of victimization here on this planet. And victimization has 2 basic expressions when we're operating at the shadow level. And in fact, all of the gene keys, as he expresses them, are operating in 2 different ways. One is more overt, assertive, or aggressive, and the other one is more hidden from us and a little more passive in its expression, but is still, in this case, the energy of victimization. So the more overt expression of victimization in this gene key is about literally being victimized. Always talking about how it is that you're the victim of things, or always sort of engaging in that energy when things don't go right, or when something happens that you don't perceive as beneficial to you, as the, oh, woe is me, right? I'm always the victim, and things never go right for me, and that kind of victim energy. The other side, the more overt or aggressive side of this, is the complaining side, where complaining, we all know who these people are, right? These chronic complainers that are always talking about, oh, that guy didn't put the paper back, right? He never puts the paper back. Or every time I come home and I clean my house, my kids come in and then they wreck it. So complaining, and I'm not saying that because of anybody in particular, I'm just saying that we all complain, and complaining is also an expression of victimization, right? So victimization is a huge energy on this planet, and that one that we are all dealing with, particularly because Chiron has been transiting through Pisces. Now we have the sun in Pisces, we have Mercury in Pisces, we have Venus in Pisces. And the gate 55 is related to the sun being in Pisces. So this is up for us, people, right? This is a week where we can deal with our energies of victimization. And why would we want to do that? Well, I'll tell you. We want to do that because the gift and the siddhi are both one and the same in this gene key, and it's freedom. Right? We all want freedom, freedom to be who we want to be, freedom to do the things we want to do when we want to do them. And I don't know how many times I've said to the universe, really, all I want is the freedom to be able to go where I want to go, when I want to go there, and do it with the people that I want to do it with. And that might mean sometimes that I require money in order to travel, let's say, or to get involved in something, or buy gifts if we're going to a birthday party, that type of thing. Well, freedom lies in this gate. It lies in this gate when we stop being the victim and we start taking responsibility for our condition, where we are and what we are doing, and recognizing and validating and being in gratitude for the abundance that is constantly flowing on this planet. I think I talked to you guys about this book that I've been reading called The Secret of Prayer. And it was written by Joe Vitale, and I finished the book a week ago, maybe, or maybe it was this weekend. Well, time flies when you're having fun. But anyway, I finished this book. And one of the things that he was talking about very early in the book really made me take notice, Because what he starts to talk about is the gratitude that we could feel based on just the fact that we are sitting here on this planet. And that when we look around, so much is happening without our conscious ability to do anything about it. For example, you're sitting there right now and you're breathing, right? Your body is repairing cells. Your blood is flowing and oxygenating your brain and all of your organs, and even, bringing oxygen-rich blood up to the surface of your skin. And all of this is happening without you being involved. And in a way, this is about the abundant stream and the abundant nature of the universe, right? You're being kept alive. Your very life, your very heartbeat, your very blood flowing through your body, the air in your lungs is all happening without your conscious ability to control it whatsoever. Now, let's just look outside of ourselves for a moment and we look at the beauty of the earth. I mean, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the throes of winter, but everywhere I look, even though it's freezing cold here today, I see buds on trees. I see flowers that have already poked up through the earth and are getting ready to flower. The earliest plants like crocus and I forgot what those other little white things are called, are already blooming. And the earth is moving through the cycles and becoming abundant while we watch, and we don't have any activity involved in this. There's no consciousness on our part that is making this happen. And this really speaks to the power of, maybe you want to call it God or source or universal mind or cosmic mind. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but it speaks to a higher power that operates everything on this planet, including you and the animals and all of the natural resources, everything in its own and appropriate time. So the very nature of our universe, of you, is that of abundance, right? You don't have to wake up this morning and worry that you aren't going to have blood pumping through your body. Now, of course, you could say there are disease processes and all of that kind of thing, but even in that, life will out. Your body will keep working based on the consciousness that holds the glue that holds together this universe, even in the process of dying or in the process of heading toward death. So that should be very comforting to everybody, that everything around us mirrors that abundance. And so being in gratitude every day for everything, every little thing and every big thing that is around you, can really help to clue you in or get you in the stream of consciousness of abundance. And that's what this particular week reminds us of, right? That the sun in Pisces, and literally the sun is in Pisces for longer than just this week, but in human design, there's a span of degrees within the zodiac that the gates sit at. So we'll be in the stream of abundance for another 4 days. And that means that that's the lesson that we're learning in this week, is really about victimization. And the bright spot at the end of that horizon is that of freedom. So really an interesting message for us in this week. One other little piece of this gate 55 or gene key 55 is that it is a moody kind of energy. So there are emotional highs and emotional lows. Gate 55 sits on the emotional solar plexus, and that means it is broadcasting emotion. And the emotion that it broadcasts is often going high and then coming back down to a low. And the truth in this is that creativity and our ability to manifest and to be creative individuals goes through varying processes of bliss, and at the other end, let's call it melancholy as opposed to depression. And that is a natural cycle that we go through, because creativity is born out of melancholy. It is born out of bliss. So being in any one of those moods at any one time is not something that takes you away from abundance, but allows an internal process when you're in the melancholy phase of creation. And then when you are more in the blissful side, the more external vibration of abundance. I hope that helps people when you think of being in the doldrums, or being, for all of us that are generators and manifesting generators, our growth pattern is, right, stair step. Everything seems like it's magic carpet ride and everything's going well, and then boom, all of a sudden out of the blue you come to that plateau. That is because of mastery, right? In order to master, you have periods of growth followed by periods of integration. That integration is also akin to the moody energy in gate 55, which is that sometimes you have to be in that quiet place to really hear the internal messages going on about what it is you want to create. So never feel like you're experiencing sadness or melancholy and it's a bad thing, because often out of that comes the most beautiful expressions of creativity. And it's part of a spectrum or a continuum of energy, right? That's always flowing and always available to us. So, all right, let's see. Does anybody out there want to ask any questions about any of the information I just shared? And if not, then I'm going to go do some readings. And in the short term here, I'm going to talk to Suzanne Fulmer, because I think we have a couple of different Suzannes that listen to us. Suzanne, I should remember how to do this. Are you okay, Suzanne, with being, Petra, that's right, she's at work. Okay, so Suzanne, do you want to be made a panelist so that I can see you and so that you can see your chart? And she says, of course. Awesome. Now all I have to do, people, is remember how I did that the other day. So let's go to more. What does it say? Allow attendees to chat with everybody. Okay, but I don't want to do that. So let's click on Suzanne. All panelists. Yes, Petra, I'm going to finish up your charts today and send them to you so that tomorrow. Okay, people, I'm sorry, I'm being a bonehead here. I'm not sure why I can't promote Suzanne to panelist. Select all. No, I don't want to do that. How did I do that the other day? It was so easy the other day. So at the short term here, to Suzanne, all panelists, more. Let's go more. Allow attendees to chat. Yes, okay, I do. I see that, but that's not what I want. I want to promote her to a panelist. Where do I do that from? Ooh, let me see if I have to invite. No, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do it that way. So double clicking isn't doing it either. Let's try Cassandra just to see if, because I've been doing something here. Oh, please. This can't be that difficult. Maybe I don't do it in the chat. So let's see if I have to do it in participants. I might have to do that. Attendees, there we go. Woohoo! Allowed to talk. And Suzanne, I'm going to promote to panelist. Okay, so you're now rejoining as a panelist. So Suzanne, let's see, I'm going to ask you to share your camera with us. And actually, I kind of see something like light flickering in the background, so I think your camera's there. There you are. Good morning.
Hi, I don't have my teeth in today, so today was I should have put them in.
We're not going to complain. We're not going to talk bad about you. We're going to look at your chart anyway, right?
Yeah.
So let me share my screen so I can pull up your chart here. And hold on a minute. I don't want to share my screen yet. I want to go to my desktop and get your chart open. And you're Suzanne. So I want Suzanne's chart. There she is. And let me get back to Zoom here. And and I'm going to share my screen with you. So you're going to end up seeing your chart, but you'll notice I blacked out all your personal information. So nobody can actually steal your identity from you, which is what I was worried about, because I can't control who watches these videos after we hang up today.
Right.
So I don't want people stealing other people's identities. So I blocked out your personal info. So Suzanne, here is your chart. And for everybody who's seeing your chart right now, or seeing this chart, let me explain what we're looking at. On the inner wheel here, all of this information, and Suzanne, can you see my mouse moving around?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. My mouse is moving around where the planets are by birth for you. On the outer wheel here, you see them again in green. All of these symbols show you where the planets are today, or as of a few minutes ago when I actually drew up your chart. Okay. So what we want to be able to do is look at the interconnection between the planets at birth and where they are today. And that gives us an idea of what kind of things are happening for you. Okay. So one of the most interesting things, and I'm going to ask you in a minute to tell us what you want me to talk to you about, but I want to point out a few key things. One, your particular chart is very much similar to the bucket pattern that we've been seeing in the transiting planets. You see right up here, you have the North Node and the part of Fortune, and in some ways, even Chiron and Eris over here holding the handle of the bucket with the bulk of the planets in your chart down here. Okay. Now, looking at it from a different point of view right now, we have transiting planets all up here with the handle of the bucket down here. So what it really tells me right now is that you're being forced almost, funneled almost, toward this piece right here, which is your destiny. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And your destiny is at this moment sitting just about ready to move into, or it looks like it's actually moved into your fourth house of home and family, but also setting up of a foundation, security, safety, all those things that create a stability in our lives is what your destiny is provoking you to do at this moment.
It is too.
Is it really?
Yes.
I'm not surprised, right? That's these are the things that, we can look at in a chart that visibly tell us what's going on. So how is it that the universe is directing you at this point to be able to do this? Because that's the important thing, right? Great. Down here, I have this destiny. It's transiting through my fourth house saying it's time to get stable. It's time to get a foundation. But how am I supposed to do that? Right? That would be my question. Like, okay, God, thank you. Tell me how. Yeah. And the how is so so in your face, and it's this piece right here in the 10th house of career. What do I do in the world? And it's more than career, because this is you claiming your authority, right? Being who you're here to be. And your natal destiny is up here, right here across from it. So you're really in that 10th house and somewhat in the 11th house as well, which is also saying you got a vision, right? You have to align yourself with your vision. And if your vision is for this, I don't know what your vision is, and we could speak to that maybe in detail, but let's say you have this vision, but you're not taking the steps to bring that vision into reality, then this is the time for you to do that. In fact, today, the Sun and Mercury both are sitting on top of your destiny, your natal destiny. So it's like a timekeeping piece, right? That's saying, boom, it's time. Yeah. So in a very real way, you're being guided to really get out there in the world in some way, whether that's through teaching. There's artistic, creative energy here available for you. There's all kinds of ways in which you could express your destiny in Pisces. Right? That could be through being a healer. It could be through bringing in some of the Virgo energy, its opposite position, which might be being, an herbalist or growing food, or in some way being, in charge of something that's very earthy. Oils and such like that always remind me of people that are working the Virgo Pisces axis. So you're being asked or tasked, whichever way you want to look at it, through really singing from your authentic self now and bringing a vision into into fruition, or at least, so many times we pray for something or we ask for something, and then we forget that we have to take the action steps to get us there. So if you're being prompted by the universe, like, the little pen in the back that's prompting you to do something and you're resisting, you're blocking the flow. So in a way, there's courage needed here for you to be able to step into doing what it is that the universe is prompting you to do. So if you're holding back somewhere, you're blocking the flow yourself, and start following the promptings from spirit. Now, there's one other little thing that I need to talk to you about here, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of key questions. You see this right here? Can you see where my mouse is circling? This is the moon, and where the moon is today. And then there's Eris, and then there is, and actually this is based on a different time. This is universal time. So really the moon is up here more, and the planet Uranus and Eris are right there with the moon. But the point for you is that they're moved into your 12th house. You have a 12th house Saturn, and you have a 12th house Ceres. And so there are some maybe self-sabotaging behaviors that you get involved with that take you out of the game from time to time, like disappearing from the world, or undermining your own actions, like taking 2 steps forward and then 2 steps backwards instead of the usual way, which is 2 forward and maybe 1 backwards. So there is a lot of need for you at this point to really get into, oops, wrong thing, go back. Okay, no. But that's an interesting picture, don't you think?
Yeah, that sure is.
Hold on. This is what happens when you get too excited and... No, I don't want to see all my photos. Oh my God, no, stop sharing. Hello.
No, look at all your photos.
Oh, I don't have any bad photos.
Okay.
It's just, why flush the whole screen with everybody's pictures. And it could have people's charts on it that we don't necessarily need to see. Okay, so I've got to go back and open up your chart. Hold the phone for one momento. And Suzanne, there we go. I'm sure there's an easier way for me to get back to this, but let's share the screen again. And boom, there we go. We're back to Suzanne. So here in the 12th house, we have this energy of where we undermine ourselves, where we, how some, you may really resonate with this, where sometimes you feel like you need to be invisible. Where, like the closer you get to claiming your authority and your power, the more invisible you become. It's time to let that go, right? It's time to get beyond that. Because now it's not happening right this minute. Later in the week, probably late tomorrow or the next day, the moon is going to come across your natal Saturn here. And that's going to be a very big call for you to claim your authority, not hide from it. Okay. Uranus isn't going to be there for a long time, but for a long time, Uranus and Eris will be transiting through your 12th house. And so there will always be these revelations that come up about what is hidden in your unconscious mind. And, I happen to know that you are, you practice Wicca, right? Is that you?
Yes.
And that you're very powerful in what you do in that. And that I think you're probably guided to be a teacher in teaching Wicca and the way, bringing that to a level of consciousness to alleviate fear. But first, you got to alleviate the fear you have. Because that's kind of right here in this house, and it's going to be triggered a lot.
Yes, there's a fear that lives in my own home, my son.
Right.
I'm trying to get him out. But he's my son, and I'm a Cancer. You know what I mean? So just kick him out is just not going to happen for me. And I think that's what's holding me back quite a bit. Is that
okay? So maybe I didn't hear you correctly. Did you say your son is living at home with you? Is he an adult or is he a kid?
He's 22 years old.
And is he against something that you do?
He completely treats me like I don't exist. I don't want to get all emotional, but yeah, it's horrible.
So the home issue here. So you and I need to have a conversation separately from on air here. I don't want to drag,
Yeah.
have you get all emotional here. But there's a different conversation here that includes you claiming some power in the relationship that you have with him. And I don't care if you're a Cancer, because the other side of Cancer is Capricorn. And Capricorn is part of your energy as well.
Okay.
It does what needs to be done.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
It empowers itself. And in a way, sometimes it's through being a little bit ruthless. And I'm not saying that you have to be ruthless, because he is your child. I get that.
Uh-huh.
But there are ways in which you can make it perfectly clear that that's not tolerable. And if he's going to be that way, it's time for him to move along.
Okay.
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 But that's, like I said, we'll go into some details about that. So do you have any questions about things that we've talked about this morning, or anything that you want me to clarify for you in a different way?
Okay, so I know I'm moving into my Chiron, right? Here soon?
You mean Chiron?
Chiron, yeah,
Chiron.
here soon.
Yeah, your natal Chiron is in Aries. So definitely here's the transiting Chiron in the last 3 or 4 degrees of Pisces.
Okay.
So it will be moving into Aries shortly. And we're already hearing the drumbeat about this, by the way.
Yeah.
People. We're already feeling that need to claim our independence, but to also learn when it's appropriate to ask for help. We're learning things like self-sufficiency, right? Self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Any word basically that you could put self in front of is what we're learning.
Yes. Yes.
Including self-centeredness, right? Self-centered is not selfish.
Right. That's what I'm learning.
Claiming your good so that you have from your well that's filled the ability to help others.
Yes, that's what I'm learning. Okay. Yes, I think we do need to have a private talk, Janet. Yes.
Mostly because there are other things going on over here that we didn't talk about, but that gets into territory of abuses and things like that. And I don't want to splash that on the page here. So anyway, you and I can do that at another time.
Yes.
So if you don't have any other questions about what we talked about right now, I'm going to stop sharing your chart and move on to the next one. Is that okay?
Thank you, Janet.
You're very welcome. This is so much fun. Oh my God, I love doing this.
This is great.
Now, do you want me to leave you on the screen, or do you want to? Okay.
If I have my teeth in, next time when I have my teeth in, we'll stay on.
You look beautiful, whether your teeth are in or not.
Thank you, lady.
You're very welcome. I'm going to stop your video, but I'll leave you on the line here so you can still be part of the conversation. So hopefully you can still hear me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we can also hear you, so don't cuss in the background.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Cassandra, I'm going to allow you to talk now. And Cassandra, can you hear me? No, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Okay, Cassandra, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Now, are you okay with me opening up your video?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Just stepped out the shower.
All right. Well, this is what I'm going to ask you to do here is to tell me here in a moment. I'm going to
hear me now.
Nana,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh shoot! I was trying to see how I could pause myself. Okay.
Okay.
No, carry on.
I'll
figure it out.
There we go. You can't tell me my internet connection is unstable. I pay a shit ton of money for good internet.
Right.
Okay. So Cassandra, I'm going to share my screen, and I want you to tell me if you see your chart.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to see it if your video was off, but that's awesome. So again,
it
the
looks
same
like a
thing
whole lot
as
going on.
What?
I said it looked like a whole lot going on, all them lines.
Well, isn't it interesting? What year were you born? 1970-ish?
76, yeah.
76. Okay. So your chart is very similar to Suzanne's. And isn't it interesting? I seem to be picking up a lot of people right now who are in that 40-ish years old, mid 40s to, younger 40s. And I think it's possibly because you're the generation that recognizes next is your Chiron, right? Your Chiron here in Aries. And also those of you who are right around between 40 and 43 are experiencing your Uranus opposition, meaning Uranus has traveled halfway around your chart. And it's what we call your midlife crisis. In typical terms,
Oh,
that's what we're calling it. And so a lot of times people seek out help at that time because life gets a little crazy and you almost feel called to get on a different path. Or if you've already been on your path, you sometimes feel like there's something next that's coming that you've got to connect with. But if you haven't really been on your path, and it could be for many different reasons. What if your path included raising children, and by the time you get to your early 40s, your kids are a little bit older, and now you have a little more freedom to work on your own self, and you get called in to do that. And let's see, your Uranus sits at 7 degrees of Scorpio, so it's not going to be probably until next year that you really hit this, but you're building up to it right now. And so within you is a feeling, perhaps a drumbeat, maybe not really a strong drumbeat yet, but that's calling you on to claim who you really are meant to be. And that can be difficult. It can be sort of a shakeup as things change in your life. It's the stereotype time of the man that's been married to his wife for 20 some years, and he suddenly goes off and has an affair, or goes out and buys a sports car, and he's got this blonde bimbo on his arm that he's being seen around town with, like he's totally gone off the rails. And we tend to laugh about that, but it's a real truth that happens in our early 40s, that there's some kind of revolution or shakeup in our lives, and it can be very difficult. Often more difficult for men because they don't express the emotion that they're feeling in it, and so it comes out in these very odd ways. But for women, you're still going through this revolutionary time, and you're sort of building up to that, Cassandra. So when I look at your chart, I see that very similar pattern, right? Up here, you have the handle of the bucket and being, holding up the energy of these planets down here that are the bottom of the bucket. And in your case, it's a little bit different because we have up here, instead of, Suzanne had her destiny that was holding that handle, but right now the planet Uranus is holding the handle, is handling you. So you're being handled by the planet Uranus, which is saying, what do you need to do to awaken?
or
Right? What do you need?
Uranus,
What?
as Jason says.
Yeah. he always says things a little bit. He says them so that they're funny.
Yes.
I call it Uranus because other people call it Uranus, right? And I didn't want to sound like it was going to pee all over you. And Uranus, of course, that's the other end. So why that poor planet ends up with bodily functions in its name, I don't know. So I'll just go with Uranus because it doesn't evoke either one of those.
Yes.
In the meantime, so here you are building up to this change, right? There's something change-oriented that's coming up for you. And you may not be feeling it very powerfully yet. But when we get to May of this year and June and July, there's going to be something that you're really feeling. And eventually what's going to happen is Uranus here is going to cross over your midheaven. This letter MC here is the gateway, if you will, to the 10th house of career, or the gateway to your worldly self, or your authority, your authentic self. We call it many different things. And so looking at this, then I see a revolution coming in what it is you do out in the world. Now, what do you do right now? Or let's rephrase that. What's your biggest challenge in your life right now, Cassandra?
Me, doubt.
Self-doubt?
Second guessing myself. That's my biggest challenge. And if I've been trying to work on that, and speaking publicly.
Right. Being seen?
Yep.
I gotcha. Well, I want you to look at this part of your chart. If you can see my mouse, and it's circling 5 different planets here. That's the sun, that's Mercury, that's Venus, that's Neptune, and this is Chiron. And they are all in your 8th house of sex, death, and rebirth. Now, literally, this is not the house of death, like when I say death, it's not a physical death, but we die a lot of deaths throughout our lives, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a part of how we grow and how we rebirth, we regenerate. So there's a lot of energy of regeneration, of rebirth, but in order to rebirth or regenerate, what has to happen? Something has to be let go of, right? We
That's
have to die to something in order for the rebirth to happen. And we see this often in the Scorpio energy, because Scorpio energy has as its highest expression the phoenix. And what does the phoenix do? Right? He immolates, he burns up and becomes ash, and out of that ash is born a new bird. And literally, that's the process that you're going through right now. It doesn't have to be a tragedy like, we think of it as death, but certainly there's something changing here. And it's in the sign of Pisces, and it may be simply you changing your own version of who you are, right? Because Pisces energy is about compassion and self-love. How much self-love do you have? How much compassion do you have for yourself versus what you afford other people, right? So if you hear yourself talking to yourself in ways that you would never talk to anybody else, there's a problem, right? Because you're tearing yourself down instead of building yourself up. And that may be what this is all about. You having to come into yourself and find the golden truth about who you are, and not that sullied version that you seem to think you are. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Right. I mean, if you're telling yourself you're fat, ugly, and no good, do you really think you're going to have good things happen to you?
Oh, no.
And it doesn't have to be those words. It can be any other words. It could be you looking in the mirror and going, why can't you be like other women, right? Or, why can't you have what other people have? You're tearing yourself down when you say those kinds of things.
That's so true.
So, right. So for you, this is a very powerful time to look inward, and the very first thing I would do if I were you right now is I would get in touch with gratitude, right? That very base. Thank you, God, for this body that works. No matter what I feed it, no matter what I do to it, it still works. Every morning I wake up and I'm still breathing. Every morning I wake up and those muscles are still going to put me up on my feet, and my heart is still beating, my blood is still pumping, and having gratitude for that, right? Just start there. And then having gratitude for the fact that you have a roof over your head, or that you have, whatever it is that you have in your life, be grateful. And when you start to be grateful for those things, it starts to spill out into other places in your life, including about how grateful you are for your own life and for who you are and for the things that you get to do good for other people. Because every one of us here has a soul journey that we're on, and it's partly healing and it's partly evolution. And so you are here with a mission. You're here with something that you're here to do, something you're here to share. You have gifts, you have talents, you have wonderful things that you need to gift people, right? So you can't do that if you're hiding, or if you are worried about your own self. So empower yourself, your number one thing. Something else I see that's possibly still in process, and I'm looking down, if you can see my mouse, I'm looking down at this part of your chart. And so you've been under the gun really for the last couple of several months, including maybe even up to about a year ago, because planets one by one have been coming through this area where you have a lot of natal energy. So it's like they're putting a lot of focus on you, and focus for change, or focus for something being in development. You still have Jupiter and you still have Mars moving through, these planets. The others now have moved off. So the pressure release, if you will, is now moving from this idea phase to the actual plant my feet on the ground and do something phase. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So, it's great to have a bunch of ideas. It's great to have a lot of creative impulses and all those juices flowing and what have you. But if the rubber never meets the road, then you're never going to get anywhere.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at. I'm trying right now. I'm getting focused. And I do, like you said, I do have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things that I want to do. But right now, I'm just focusing on one thing right now. And then after I kind of get this one thing up and going, then I will move on to my next project. But like you said, trying to do too many things at one time, I can't do it.
Right. Craziness, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
but worse than that would be sitting on all those ideas and not doing anything, right?
Yep. And I've been doing that.
Absolutely. And what we're looking at here then is Saturn and the Black Moon, Lilith, and Pluto. And they're all actually, the only one that's not quite there yet is Saturn moving into your 6th house, which is very Virgoan in that it has the energy of planning and organizing and executing the plan, because you've also got Capricorn sitting here at this house for you. So there's a very earthly or earthy, deliberate sort of phase that you're going through. And it does mean walking a line, right? And putting one foot in front of the other. And when that foot is stabilized, then you take the next step. So there does seem to be a plan that's unfolding, but you have to take action, right? You have to take action. You have to take the plan and actually take the step, right? If you've got 10 things in this plan, but you haven't even started with number 1, you're never going to get to number 10.
That is
So it's deliberate action. So I like that you say, you've got this one thing that you've got to get out of the way in order to do the next one, because it kind of tells me that you've already keyed into deliberate action. Okay?
Yes.
And good news, right now, the transiting destiny, not your personal destiny, but the transiting destiny is now right on top of Saturn for you, which means this is a real good time for you to claim your authenticity and your authority, and to really bring all those things up to the surface that are you.
That's totally
right?
And yes,
you're strengthening you, Y-O-U. So we'll have another chat sometime soon, because eventually what's going to happen is the north node here is going to, because it moves backwards through the chart, instead of moving from house 1 to house 12, it goes the other way. It goes backwards through. So it's moving from house 1, where it is now, backwards into house 12. So you've probably got about 9 months coming up here soon where you're going to have to be cleaning out the shadow part of yourself.
Yeah,
where you're going to have to.
Yeah, because I was about to ask the 12th house, if I'm not mistaken, that's like hidden things, hidden secrets, hidden knowledge, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct. Unconscious motivations, blocks, limits, fears can be in there, because it's really the realm of the subconscious mind. And if you think your life is being run consciously, think again, because there are a lot of places in all of us, not just you, where unconsciously there are tapes playing, right? Or old patterns that are playing in the background. I came up right against those when I had my Akashic Records reading, and I went, oh my God, I could never have come to that on my own, right? An Akashic Records reading can really help you get to that deeper place. But it was sitting there, it was coming up, it was showing me things in my life, but I hadn't consciously gotten to it. So over the next 9 months, there may be a lot of unconsciousness in you that is floating up to the surface. Not in a bad way, really, because if we don't have access to it, then it just lies in wait until we go to do something really good for ourselves. And then it rears its ugly head when we get scared, or we try to be invisible, or we, change our mind, or we sabotage, or we lose confidence in ourselves. So you want to know what's in the subconscious. You want to be able to have that stuff come up and be gently released, and to no longer, cause you pain or wounding. So that's coming. So I just want you, I say that so that you're aware, not so that you are in fear, because that's not my intention here. But I want you to know that that's going to be coming up. Like every step that you take toward whatever your big goal or vision or dream is, then, you're asking almost for that unconsciousness to show up as well, right? It has to, so that it can be released. I hope that makes sense. Cassandra, did I lose you? Yes, we lost Cassandra. All right, well, I'm going to stop sharing. And let's see, anybody else out there that I need to work with today? I guess not. And so this was fun. I love doing this. I probably won't spend this level of time doing this every day, but maybe once a week we'll get together and we'll do this. So if you are someone that would like a reading, I will be sure to let you know the next time that I'm going to do this. And excuse me, I will make sure you get the link like we did yesterday so that you can come in and have your chart read. In the meantime, let's go with abundance this week, right? Let's live out the high side of that gate 55. Let's let go of victim energy. Let's let go of being victimized. And let's just tap into the wealth and the abundance that this universe represents for us. And I hope everybody has a great day. I'm sorry, Christian, I don't see you in here, so I don't know that I can do your chart. For any of you that are on Facebook Live and seeing this and want to be able to participate, from now on, I'm going to be doing this every day. There's a Zoom link. By the way, I'm using the same link all week. So the link you guys used this morning to get in is the link that will work for you tomorrow morning, but I will repost it again today. And you can join me in Zoom where we can work with your chart, or I can show you the different things that I'm working on. In the meantime, all of you, I wish a happy day and take care. And until tomorrow morning, have a stellar day. Love you all. Bye-bye.